Henry Tudor crowned as Henry VII at Westminster Abbey on October 30, 1485, a turning point in English history. On October 30, 1485, Henry Tudor, a distant claimant to the English throne, was crowned King Henry VII at Westminster Abbey, marking the beginning of the Tudor dynasty. His ascension came after a decisive victory over King Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth Field, which effectively ended the Wars of the Roses, a brutal series of civil wars that had plagued England for over 3 decades. Henry VII's coronation was not just a personal triumph, but a monumental turning point in English history, ushering in an era of relative stability, economic growth, and significant political reform. Let us explore the circumstances that led to Henry's rise, the symbolism and significance of his coronation, and the long-term impact of his rule on England and its monarchy. Background: the Wars of the Roses and the Tudors' claim to the throne. The Wars of the Roses, a dynastic struggle between the houses of Lancaster and York, created a period of intense instability and violence in England. The conflict began in 1455 when supporters of the House of Lancaster, symbolized by a red rose, challenged the ruling House of York, symbolized by a white rose, over the throne. These wars saw the throne change hands multiple times, leading to a crisis of legitimacy that left England divided and weakened. By the 1480s, both factions had experienced heavy losses, with many prominent figures killed in battle or executed. Henry Tudor was a Lancastrian with a tenuous claim to the throne, primarily through his mother, Lady Margaret Beaufort, a descendant of John of Gaunt, Duke of Lancaster. His claim was weak, as it came through an illegitimate line, and Henry himself had spent much of his early life in exile in France due to the dangerous political landscape in England. However, following the deaths of key Lancastrian and Yorkist leaders, Henry became one of the last viable candidates to challenge Richard III, who had seized the throne in 1483 by declaring his nephews illegitimate. Richard's unpopular rule and alleged involvement in the disappearance, and presumed murder, of the princes in the Tower caused widespread dissent, creating an opportunity for Henry to assert his claim. The Battle of Bosworth Field and Henry's path to the throne. The decisive moment for Henry came on August 22, 1485, at the Battle of Bosworth Field. With support from several disaffected English nobles and financial aid from the French court, Henry assembled an army and sailed from France to challenge Richard III. Although Henry's forces were outnumbered, Richard's own support was waning, and key nobles, including the influential Stanley family, defected to Henry's side at a critical juncture in the battle. Richard III was killed during the battle, marking the last time an English king died in combat, and Henry emerged victorious. Henry's victory at Bosworth was not only a military success but also a powerful symbol of the end of the Wars of the Roses. The victory allowed him to seize the throne by right of conquest, a concept widely accepted in medieval England. To consolidate his power further, Henry married Elizabeth of York, the daughter of Edward IV and the niece of Richard III, thereby uniting the warring houses of Lancaster and York. This marriage helped to stabilize the kingdom and provided a strong foundation for the Tudor dynasty, symbolizing reconciliation and the dawn of a new era for England. The Coronation of Henry VII, significance and symbolism. The coronation of Henry VII at Westminster Abbey was a meticulously planned event that conveyed his legitimacy, authority, and intent to restore peace to England. Coronations were significant medieval ceremonies that symbolized the divine right of kings, a concept that Henry needed to emphasize to strengthen his claim. His coronation date, October 30th, was strategically chosen to occur before the first meeting of Parliament, establishing his authority as king by right of conquest and not through parliamentary endorsement. This careful planning underscored Henry's intent to present himself as the rightful monarch, independent of the traditional power struggles that had characterized previous reigns. The ceremony itself was filled with symbolism. Henry entered Westminster Abbey clad in royal robes, carrying the symbols of kingship, including the orb and scepter, which represented his role as the chosen ruler of England by both divine and secular authority. By choosing Westminster Abbey, a traditional site of English coronations, Henry tied himself to the historical legacy of English kingship. Furthermore, he emphasized his connection to both the Lancastrian and Yorkist houses, wearing a crown that symbolized the union of these warring factions. His choice to commission a new crown, rather than using one associated with previous monarchs, further asserted his intention to forge a new era in English governance. The coronation ceremony was attended by members of the nobility, clergy, and representatives from various regions, reflecting Henry's intent to rule as a unifying figure. By participating in the coronation, these representatives symbolically accepted Henry as their sovereign, reinforcing his claim to the throne. His promise to end the bloodshed and restore stability resonated with a war-weary populace, many of whom saw his reign as the beginning of lasting peace. Henry VII's reforms and establishment of the Tudor dynasty. Following his coronation, Henry VII faced the daunting task of stabilizing a deeply divided kingdom. His approach to governance was characterized by pragmatism, fiscal discipline, and a determination to reduce the power of the nobility. One of his first acts was to establish the Court of Star Chamber, a judicial body that addressed cases of corruption, abuses of power, and disputes among nobles. The Court of Star Chamber was instrumental in curbing the power of influential noble families who had previously acted with near autonomy, using their private armies to assert control over local territories. Henry's financial policies were equally transformative. He implemented strict fiscal policies, levying fines on rebellious nobles and accumulating wealth through efficient taxation and trade agreements. These policies not only stabilized the royal finances but also reduced the likelihood of noble-led uprisings, as the nobility became financially dependent on the crown. Henry's economic reforms laid the groundwork for the prosperity of the Tudor period, allowing England to engage in significant infrastructure projects, fortify defences, and foster trade. Henry also sought to legitimize his reign by strengthening international relations. He negotiated favorable marriages for his children, notably the marriage of his son, Arthur, to Catherine of Aragon, a powerful alliance with Spain. This marriage marked the beginning of a series of strategic alliances that would secure England's position in European politics. By aligning with Spain, Henry ensured that England would have allies in any potential conflict with France, a significant consideration given the ongoing rivalry between England and France. Legacy of Henry VII's reign and the Tudor dynasty. The impact of Henry VII's reign was profound, extending well beyond his lifetime. His pragmatic approach to governance, emphasis on fiscal responsibility, and diplomatic acumen laid the foundation for a strong and centralized monarchy that would flourish under his successors. Henry's consolidation of power allowed him to pass a stable kingdom to his son, Henry VIII, who would go on to shape England's religious and political landscape in ways that still resonate today. Henry VII's coronation also marked the birth of the Tudor myth, a narrative that painted the Tudors as divinely appointed saviors of England, destined to bring peace and prosperity to a kingdom fractured by civil war. This myth was perpetuated by subsequent Tudor monarchs, who used it to justify their rule and rally support. The Tudor dynasty, which began with Henry's coronation, became one of the most celebrated and studied periods in English history, renowned for its cultural achievements, religious transformations, and the establishment of a powerful centralized state. Henry's crowning achievement, perhaps, was his ability to navigate the complex landscape of English politics, establishing a model of kingship that balanced strength with diplomacy, authority with fiscal prudence. His reign ended the Wars of the Roses and ushered in a period of peace, allowing England to recover from years of internal strife and setting the stage for the golden age of the English Renaissance. By uniting the houses of Lancaster and York, Henry VII not only ended the conflicts of his time but also laid the groundwork for a dynasty that would transform England. Thus, The coronation of Henry VII on October 30, 1485, was a pivotal moment in English history, signaling the end of the Wars of the Roses and the beginning of the Tudor dynasty. Through his military success, strategic marriage, and subsequent reforms, Henry laid the foundation for a centralized monarchy that would endure for over a century. His rule brought stability to a divided kingdom, restored royal finances, and established England as a player in European politics. Henry VII's legacy is not only the stability he brought to England but also the creation of a Tudor myth that cemented his family's place in history. His coronation marked the dawn of a new era, one that would see England emerge as a unified and prosperous nation. Thank you for joining us on this journey back to the Middle Ages. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Medieval Chronicles 1066 for more captivating insights into history. Until next time, stay curious.